The Master's Mysteries. Tales of Magical Mastery. Episode 40. We were just talking about how old Dao came to find his grand mansion, intending to sell it and exchange it for silver. However, he was unexpectedly stopped by an old farmer who claimed that the mansion was haunted by spirits. Humph. I don't believe you guys at all. You must be trying to take advantage of me. The old man's story was so vivid and detailed, but old Dao doesn't believe a word of it. In his heart, he thinks that these people probably have some ulterior motives. He originally thought that the local farmers here might have dishonest intentions, and the things inside the mansion might have all been taken away. But to his surprise, when old Dao entered the mansion, it seemed that nothing was missing. It's quite impressive. The mansion is free of weeds. The doors and windows are orderly, and everything seems to be in perfect condition. It doesn't look like it has been abandoned for over a decade. It's more like someone cleans and tidies up daily. Old Dao wandered around the mansion with delight, thinking that such a magnificent and elegant mansion would definitely fetch a good price when sold. As the moon slowly rose to the zenith, old Dao had nowhere else to go, so he found a room and went inside. He cleared a table and laid down on it, his mind continuously calculating. If he could sell this mansion, it would definitely be enough to bet on something big and teach those arrogant people a lesson. Before long, drowsiness struck. Old Dao yawned and wanted to take a short nap, but suddenly he felt something dripping onto his forehead. Old Dao touched it with his hand. It was sticky and had a foul smell. Subconsciously, he looked up, and the sight immediately left him stunned. At that moment, a huge dark shadow was entwined on the ceiling beams. It looked like a giant python, but this python had an evil ghost's head on top of its own, making it incredibly terrifying. In the blink of an eye, the enormous head swooped down. It's a real monster. The pungent odor that hit his face immediately startled old Dao. He reacted swiftly and frightened, let out a scream, quickly flipping off the table. Don't come any closer. The creature, with a ghost's head on a snake's body, wiggled its tail and chased after old Dao, who ran out of the room in a panic. Oh my goodness, there's a monster. Old Dao was so terrified that he couldn't think straight, running for his life without any consideration. The monster pursued behind, making threatening noises. Suddenly, its expression changed, as if it had discovered something. Hey! With a sudden leap, the creature passed right over old Dao. It turned out it didn't want to chase him. If it truly wanted to, old Dao's flesh would have been in its belly long ago. Wait a moment. Are you a monster? The creature rushed to old Dao's front, stopping him, and then its ghostly face came right in front of him, almost scaring old Dao's soul away. Don't be afraid. This should be much better now. Wait a moment. Apparently realizing that its appearance frightened old Dao, the huge snake wiggled its head a couple of times, transforming the ghost's head back into a snake's head. Are you a descendant of the Zhang family? The creature asked slowly, not daring to rush. It slowly approached old Dao and said something strange. A snake can actually speak. Old Dao felt somewhat less scared now, but he was still dumbfounded. This enormous python speaking was just as eerie and horrifying as the monster. Hey, don't be afraid. The large python tried to comfort old Dao, but how could it be that simple? Old Dao's eyes rolled back, and he fainted on the spot. What a nuisance. The snake seemed to be in a hurry. It turned around and swam towards the well in the backyard. After a while, it came back carrying a bucket of water, seemingly wanting to splash old Dao to wake him up. Monster. There's a monster. However, the snake didn't expect that old Dao had only pretended to faint earlier, and by now, he had already run out of the mansion. Help. There's a monster. As for old Dao, he was running forward as if his life depended on it. Fearing that the snake would catch up with him, he kept turning his head back to look, and unexpectedly, he bumped into someone. Who is it? You nearly killed me. Nubai. No, Daoist, It's you." Although old Dao was in pain from the collision, when he raised his head, he realized that it was the old Taoist from Iron Bull sect, the one with the big nose whom he loathed. "Taoist, immortal, bodhisattva, our house is haunted by a monster." At this point, he didn't care about his dislike for the Taoist anymore. His mansion was haunted, and it was the perfect opportunity for this old Taoist to catch the monster. He had to say something pleasing. "You're a disciple of the three pure ones, and you can't just ignore this matter. If necessary, I'll sell the house, and I'll give you some money." However, after shouting for quite a while, old Dao noticed that the white-bearded old Taoist was just staring at him without uttering a word. "What's the matter?" "My, can't I sell this grand mansion?" Upon hearing that he might need to sell the mansion, the white-bearded Taoist sighed deeply. "All right, I'll go take a look." This made old Dao a bit annoyed. Whether he sells his property or not should be his own business. What qualifications did this old man have to feel sorry for him? "Don't worry, I won't. I'm not that monster. Don't bother with your..." But at this moment, even though old Dao felt annoyed with the old Taoist, he couldn't show it. After all, he was still hoping that the Taoist would capture the monster. "Monster, your time to die has come." With the old Taoist by his side, old Dao's courage soared. He entered the courtyard and shouted at the giant snake, "Master, it's up to you now." However, this time, the giant python didn't charge again. Its eyes, gleaming with green light, were fixed on the two men, giving a somewhat gentle appearance. The scene was quiet for a while. The snake didn't move, and the white-bearded Taoist remained still. Then, the python slowly put down the wooden bucket, but its eyes still stared fixedly at old Dao. "What are you looking at? Can't you see that your end is near?" The intense gaze made old Dao feel uneasy, and he couldn't hold back any longer. He pointed at the python and started scolding it. At this moment, the white-bearded Taoist finally moved. With his hands behind his back, he walked towards the giant snake. "Monster, I'm telling you, this Taoist is the reincarnation of Patriarch Bodhidharma." Seeing the Taoist's confident appearance, old Dao started bragging, not caring whether it was about Taoism or Buddhism. He just wanted to impress the others. However, after old Dao blabbered for a while, he noticed that something was off between the white-bearded Taoist and the giant snake. There was no sign of a battle between man and snake. Their eye contact wasn't fierce. There was even a hint of gentleness. "Friend, how have these years been treating you?" What happened next surprised old Dao even more. The white-bearded Taoist actually started chatting with the giant snake, patting its head. "Not bad. I've been practicing diligently here. You've worked hard too." This scene seemed like a reunion, leaving old Dao full of question marks and cold sweat. "You are working together. You? How could you?" Seeing this, old Dao finally understood. The white-bearded Taoist and the giant snake were in cahoots. "You must be plotting to take over my property." No need to say anything. It was evident that the white-bearded Taoist and the monster conspired together, planning to use the monster's rumors to seize his large mansion. "Chanfu, you're thinking too much. No need to be afraid." Hearing old Dao's words, the white-bearded Taoist smiled and explained, "He's not a monster. He's the guardian deity of your Zhang family." The white-bearded Taoist and old Dao's father were good friends, and he had taken care of him. He hadn't done anything harmful to him. However, when old Dao heard the old Taoist mention the giant snake as the guardian deity of their Zhang family, he was taken aback. What was going on? "That's right. I am the guardian deity of your Zhang family. Entrusted by your father, it has been 20 years protecting Zhang." Hearing the words of the giant snake, old Dao seemed to understand. It appeared that he was entrusted by his own father. "I have been waiting for your appearance." His father was highly skilled in Taoism, and there were always many practitioners coming to their home. However, he never expected that his father had a friendship with a monster. My father. Is it all true? Everything you said. Hearing this, old Dao had no choice but to believe, but the whole situation was just too shocking. It would be difficult for anyone to accept. If you want to know the whole story, come inside with me. Apparently, the giant snake also wanted to explain in detail. It twisted its body and invited the two inside the room. With a humble offering, "You've managed this mansion quite well." Old Dao also noticed that they didn't have any ill intentions. If they really wanted to harm him, he and the other 8 of himself would have already been swallowed. In the main hall of the mansion, the giant snake skillfully used its tail to wrap around and lit 3 incense sticks. Seeing its proficiency, it seemed that it had been doing this for years. "You and your father look very similar." "How? Do you know my father?" After hesitating for a moment, old Dao asked the question in his mind. "Do you remember the severe drought that occurred here 20 years ago?" The giant snake didn't beat around the bush and started telling him about the event. Drought. It seems there was one. Unexpectedly, this discussion led back to a severe calamity that occurred in the local area several decades ago.